Jersey. So people have been doing amazing things. Fewer people have been giving money, but those who have been giving money to charities have been giving more. So the actual total amount sort of handed over to charities hasn't been affected that much, which is good. Malcolm Ferry knows a little about charity. He joins me live on the programme now. He was tasked with setting up a community of volunteers specifically for the pandemic. You might remember this, Malcolm, just in case people are listening and they're saying, what? And a bit late to this party. Remind me how it was started and what it is.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jenny. What happened was this time last year, just before we went into lockdown, I got a call from the government who said, could you come across and lead a hub of volunteers? Because they were well aware that the coming months were going to be a big challenge for a lot of people. And I think the biggest concern at the time was, what we classed as vulnerable people in Jersey could suddenly be anybody. It could be a finance worker who's in a flat on their own, aged mid-20s and can't get out because they got COVID. That person needs support. They may have no family or friends over here in particular who they can rely on. So suddenly, as well as all the traditional people that you think of as being vulnerable, perhaps, elderly people or perhaps people with certain health conditions, there was suddenly a whole group of people who may need support. And I think what it demonstrated is what we've always known about Jersey, is that we do volunteering and we do community. It's Jersey's biggest strength. And the parishes stepped forward through their community support teams, through working with the parish secretaries to actually really get to understand who the people were that needed help and how we were going to get that help to them. And what I think comes across from this Island Global Research piece is everything that they're saying completely chimes with me. So as an example, what they're saying is, less money has got in, but more people, single donations have been made. I was having conversations with philanthropists who would literally phone me up and say, if I give you £10,000, how's that going to be spent and what difference is it going to make to people's lives? And if you can tell me that now, I will get that money to you within days. And it happened. And so literally off the back of that, we were able to supply electricity top-up vouchers to make sure that no one lost connection to the electricity supply. We were able to supply digital vouchers to make sure that nobody lost connection to the internet. And that's just two examples of money that came from either businesses or individuals who wanted to help, wanted to make a difference. And then the other side of the scale was, I think the biggest challenge for lots of charities was the tech side of things, because I think, very often when it tends to be older people that work in charities, some are better at tech than others, but some charities have been left a little bit behind on that. And I was able to connect up people who wanted to offer the help with digital services to organisations that really needed that support. And sometimes it was people who were self-employed and they said, look, work's dropped off a little bit. I've got 1 or 2 days spare a week. I will do that for the good of the community. So I think what we saw was a real demonstration of how the community can pull together when our backs are against the wall, Jenny.
You made an interesting point earlier, Malcolm, that I hadn't thought of, and that's how sometimes there can be a reluctance to give to charities because people are not 100% sure that their money is going to be going to the right place. Well, most charities it does. Most charities, legitimate charities, you can check those things out. But this was a kind of no-brainer. If you can help, you're practically helping your next door neighbour here in Jersey, and you can actually see the help that's happening. So you've got that, and also you've got the fact that, just as you said, those who need the charity have changed. It's not just the vulnerable as we used to know them. We've all, perhaps at times over the last year, become vulnerable in one way or another. So instead of it being this alien thing to some charity, it's something that's affecting someone in their family or themselves, for example. But I did wonder if any changes had come, Malcolm, do you think, in people's ability to accept? Do you think people are happier to accept charity? Because there has in the past been a stigma for some where they don't like to be given.
Yeah, and I think very often it's the way in which that charity is actually given out. So, let's look at Easter last year. We were able to source a pallet of Easter eggs just to give to children. And, I don't think lots of people even considered that as charitable giving or charitable receiving. It was just a lovely gift of an Easter egg at Easter. So it's sometimes it's the smallest things that still have a really positive impact on people's lives, and they don't necessarily regard it as charity. Not that charity is a dirty word by any means. I think what we've seen in recent years is the way that government wants to support charity because they realise the value to the community. But not just that, charities understand their clients better than government ever can, because very often it's a trust thing. I don't think there's really an us and them attitude in Jersey, but there are some people who culturally just would trust a charity or a church or whatever more than they would trust a government department. That's just the way things are sometimes set up. So when government supports charities, they are still supporting residents indirectly. So I think what we've seen come out of the last year, we've all changed, haven't we, Jenny, in this last 12 months? And I've seen more positive changes than negative changes. I think the risk now is, as we go forwards and we open up, which is brilliant, we want to maintain all that good momentum. That's really important that we don't let go of what we've built over the last 12 months, because I think the challenges for some charities are the tech challenges are still there. I think the funding and the fundraising challenges are still there. So the charities that are going to do the best going forwards are the ones that are great with their digital communications, are great with their fundraising and being creative, and who have the right people to support them going forward. If I just talk about Citizens Advice, of course, we lost a number of our volunteers, and for some people it was a natural break point in their lives, and perhaps the pandemic provided that way out. And we thank those people for their long and loyal service. But of course, the organisation has to continue. So we've had an influx of new volunteers. So I think the profile of volunteering in Jersey has been raised over this last 12 months. I think people are far more likely to look out for other people. We've seen lots of incidents of really good practice, heartwarming stories that people have done for someone else, without even considering it. So, if there are good things to come out of the pandemic, and we can never forget that, of course, globally lives have been lost, locally lives have been lost. But if there is a good thing that's come out of it, is charity will emerge from this stronger and fitter and leaner, as will businesses. Because, charities have to build themselves on a business model. Just because you're a charity does not mean you're exempt from doing all the good things in terms of governance and demonstrating your value for money, particularly when you're getting public money. You've got to be able to demonstrate how that money is being spent and it's maximising its effect. So I think we've all got smarter in the last 12 months, Jenny, and I think there is a great future for the parishes, there's a great future for our faith groups, and there's a great future for our charities.
And just finally, Malcolm, there might be people listening to this who think, actually, I've got a bit of maybe spare money or maybe spare time, but I don't really know where to start. There's many charities in Jersey, which is great, but how should I volunteer my time? Where's a good starting point?
A great place to start, Jenny, is there's a website, the Association of Jersey Charities. If you just go into Google and type in Association of Jersey Charities, there are volunteering opportunities across the piece. So whatever you have to offer, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's resources, there will be something that fits what you're prepared to give. And whether that commitment is short or long, there will be someone that needs your help, either in the short term or in the longer term. Of course, with Citizens Advice, most of our commitment tends to be longer term because we deal with a broad range of issues, and our training is quite a lengthy process. But that's not to say that there isn't sometimes short projects where I need someone drafted on very quickly to help out, and that has happened in the past. So Association of Jersey Charities website, it's their 50th anniversary this year, by the way. Fantastic organisation in Jersey. They help put organisations together, as does volunteer.je, as you've just been hearing from earlier with Alan Lepavic. So, digitally, it's very easy to get in contact with charities and to offer your services and see what's out there, Jenny.
Great. Malcolm Ferry, thank you so much for your time. Some great advice there as well. Malcolm was